the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before I have Chrissy do the roll call, just to let you know, Mayor George is on the phone with us here tonight too. So.
Hey, George.
All right, roll call.
Wyatt?
Here.
Engel is absent. Reister?
Here.
Bunce?
Present.
Stabell?
Here.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Consent agenda, anybody want anything removed? Questions on anything?
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Mayor Pro Tem's comments and accommodations. Welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. At this time, we would like to thank Scott Stabell for his 4 years of service here on council, and so thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thanks,
It's been an honor to serve.
Temporarily resigning, right?
All right, next is citizens' request and oral presentation. And I believe we have our library director, Mary Busey, would like to give her annual survey information to us.
I always say this, the years fly by, because it always seems like I just did this, and of course I didn't. It's been a whole year, but holy cow, they do fly by. Anybody else want one? Got extras? The state requires all the libraries in Iowa to do this annual survey one time a year, and it's based on our fiscal year. So this is July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019. I'll just hit some high points because you can peruse it at your leisure. The first section is just general information and mostly about staffing. We kind of the bottom line on that is line B8 on page 2. Our total staff FTE for this fiscal year was right at 3. The year before it was 2.76. The main reason for the difference there is we had several months in the year before between losing and hiring a new assistant director, so we were short-staffed for a while there. But back on board with the full crew yet. The rest of that section looks at some hourly wages and compares the hourly average salary of department heads with the hourly salary of the library's department head. That's off by $2.45 currently. We have 2 full-time employees, the director, the assistant director, and then 3 part-time employees.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Maybe I'm not seeing this right. A department heads make more than the director? Is it?
The director is a department head.
Got it.
And the state started asking about 3 years ago what the hourly average salary of citywide, all department heads average is.
Okay.
That is, at this time, it was $25.98. Since then, I think this has probably gotten even further apart.
Okay.
In the wrong direction for the library director. We do require degrees upon hiring for both the director and the assistant director position. We didn't have any, what you consider capital spending in that fiscal year. Pretty much that looks at buildings. We'll have plenty next year with the renovation. That will show up in that section, C section.
But that's going on 20 years. How many years is
It was 20 years between now and the current renovation.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah, it is, and you know, the carpet, commercial carpet doesn't usually go for that. They figured 12 to 15 if you're lucky. So the fact that we got 20 years out of it was a good thing. Section D is operating income. The part that the city actually put in, the $177,198, was actually down $2,335. Part of that was because we got more money from the county in that fiscal year. That's based totally on circulation to rural residents, and it's a very odd formula. It takes into account circulation to rural residents and the amount each library spends out of their own budget on collection. So that was up 2,561. Bottom line on operating income, 201,191 was what we spent in that fiscal year. That was up $2,033. So in the big grand scheme of things, not much of a change there. And again, next year's will be skewed because of the renovation project. The D section gets into operating expenditures, starting with salaries and wages, benefits. That includes health insurance, the portion paid by the city, HIPERS, and FICA. And of course, that's a pretty significant chunk of the budget always. And then the total staff expenditures on D19. Shows the the collection expenditures is the next section. To get to the bottom line on that, the total physical collection expenditures at D25 was $22,259. And then total electronic expenditures on D37 was $2,533. And then of all operating expenditures, it was $211,911. That was actually down $2,902 for that year. We do have significant help from the Hudson Public Library Foundation on collection expenditures and programming. We haven't gotten to the programming line item yet, but actually, no, this is just collection. They give us money each year for, they supplement our book budget, usually our DVD budget, and they pay for a portion of our electronic subscription cost annually. The library collection, there's some stats on that in section E. One of the figures that's always fun to see on E7, because we are a part of the statewide consortium for electronic materials, the total amount of ebooks that we have available to our patrons as part of our collection as downloadable materials is 49,464. That, of course, when they started that consortium, that was a pretty small number because
3,500 or something the first year.
yeah,
It was a weird number.
and so it, it builds every year. So publishers are always making life kind of miserable for us with their rules and regulations on what they allow for library use of ebooks. They've decided that, well, it would wear out like any other book, so you don't really own it. They snatch it back after a while, so it's kind of frustrating. And they charge us way more than they should. Way more than an individual would pay for, say, a Kindle book on Amazon, or they really aren't our best friend. Total books, print and ebooks at the end of the year was 80,147. So you can see that that really boosts what we have available to our patrons by having the electronic materials. On the next page, E13, the bridge's downloadable audio materials, the count on that is 22,519. And then the total audio materials between electronic and what we actually own is 24,576. Excuse me. We do have a few downloadable video materials available through the consortium. 50 titles. Actually, we had some patrons that use those, and they are now kind of adding some subscriptions to different periodicals too. So there are building some magazine titles. That's kind of slow. Something that is a trend, I bet in the last, I'd say in the last 3 months, there have been 4 or 5 of the 60-some magazines that we subscribe to that have quit publishing in hard copy. It's a very rapidly escalating trend that these mainstream periodicals, you know, even things like Woman's Day and things that have been around for a long time, National Geographic Travel or Auto Week, are no longer printing in the physical format. And the other format doesn't work as well unless it's part of this consortium, so we can't really accommodate that very well. E34, total physical and downloadable volumes at the end of the year, 107,092. Subscriptions, 64. And then electronic subscriptions, 75. Circulation. We also the state library also pays for many of our databases that are available to all the libraries in the state too, so that also is very helpful. Circulation of adult books, 6,751 total physical circulation. The children's books was 8,272, that's still always a larger number. Total physical circulation was 19,790. And of course, that's not the downloadable, that's physical. If you go down a little further, then the total, let's see, total use of downloadable materials in F23 was 2,848. We have some patrons who I know are strictly electronic users and we never see them in the library. So that's kind of interesting to have that whole chunk of clientele out there and you don't have face-to-face contact with them or really know who they are. They have to have a Hudson library card so we know they're there, but the use of electronic information from the different databases we have are Gale, that's a reference database, Credo, Transparent Languages, that's a wonderful product. You can learn languages for free. It's a great online, interactive, helps you learn the pronunciation, usage. And then another one called BrainFuse that's especially geared toward helping children too. We also have JobNow, VetNow, which is a electronic product that helps you get continuing education in the fields you need, helps you search for jobs, retrains vets so they come back, they need to get some skills to go out there in the market and get a job. It caters specifically to them, helps them get the training they need, and that of course is all free to our customers too. Other licensed databases we have is Heritage Quest, that is for genealogy research. Library Ancestry, that also is for genealogy research. That is partially paid for by the foundation also. They pick up the subscription rate on that. Total collection use in F29, 24,335. If you skip down to F36, our total, yep.
What's the difference quick between F08 and F29? Physical circulation by total collection use.
Yeah, the
Yeah, F29 includes electronic.
Yes,
And so the physical, I was just doing quick math on that. If you're open about 250 days a year, which I just guessed, 80 physical pieces of material a day?
probably, yeah.
That sounds like a lot.
Mhm. We're busy.
That's great.
Yep, it is.
Okay.
It is. Our current number of registered users is 3,324, or at the time of this report it was. We received by interlibrary loan 234, we sent out on interlibrary loan 538.
No.
Part of that is we have some book sets of multiple copies that we loan to other libraries in the state for their book clubs. And that's a reciprocal borrowing thing too. That helps lots of book clubs all over the state. And then you get down to the programming attendance. Again, the foundation comes in here. They, not in this fiscal year, but in the current fiscal year, starting July 1st, they took over the funding of the total line item for all of the library's programming. So that is now all gonna be reimbursed by them. Pays for all the speakers, all the supplies, everything that we purchased for programming. The total number of people that attended library programs in this fiscal year at G8 is 4,056. We get onto the last page there, I guess. Door count was 34,713. Reference transactions, 1591. Let's see, the wireless sessions use, we do have a wireless access point, and it works in the whole interior of the library and just in the peripheral around the outside of the library if you're parked in the right spot. And people do pull up and use the wireless. Was 3,112. That number was actually up. You know, that's kind of an interesting number too, because then when I print that report, I can see not who tapped into the wireless, but what tapped into the wireless, what device they're using. And over years, that changes too. You know, at first it was a laptop here and a laptop there, but of course now it's everybody's phone. Yeah,
From the laptop, I mean, the mobile phones and
yep.
the watches.
Everybody's got a computer in their pocket now. Website visits, this is we have a PLOW website, which is hosted by the State Library, one of our many benefits from them. And we had 5,708 visits to that website. This is the first year that we had statistics on that, so. That's kind of, we're actually changing over to a new look. It's not going too quickly, but it's going. Let's see, there's our hours, our square feet. That, of course, didn't change. And then just totals. Do you have any questions about any of that? Or, you know, I can tell you what's currently going on, the renovation project. We finished the big interior crunch is done, the carpet is down, the walls are painted, the base, vinyl base all the way around. I still have to put the things back on the wall, but we made it through that. It coordinated well. It was massive effort between the carpet layers, the painters, and the library movers. And there were kind of 3 rounds of push, and they got it all done in 2 weeks and 2 days. So we were going to have 2 weeks of close time, and they would have completed everything but the staff room. And then they saw that they were clicking along pretty good, so they said, let's just keep. And then they would have had to come back the first week of December and clear the staff area out, so they just kept pushing, and they got it done in 2 weeks and 2 days. I'm glad, because it was messy. And we would have just got things cleaned up and back, and they would have raised another cloud of dust, so. So it went real well. Everybody coordinated, and the best we could hope for. Most of the remaining big projects now are put off till spring, because it's adding roof clips to the roof. We had the snow clips on 2 sides. last winter, we lost gutter, we had air conditioner damage that came to about $980, you know, we just snow slides. So we're adding clips on the other two sides and replacing what we lost on the first two. And then they have to replace some of the gutter. Another company will be redoing the caulk where the building meets the sidewalk. And so water can't run down there, and checking around all the windows and doors and replacing a couple of slabs of concrete, repainting. If there's repair needed, I don't think so, but repainting the stucco portion on that front face of the building. So as far as I know, that will be everything, and I hope we're good to go for another 20 years. So, any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary,
Great job.
and
Thanks.
please, yeah, pass on to your staff, we appreciate everything.
I will,
The
thank
great
you.
service and programming that you do here in the city for us, so. All right, on to committee reports and recommendations, Public Works Committee. Scott?
All right, we met on the 11th, and we were presented an opportunity to buy a piece of equipment that Jessup Gym has for sale to go in the park. And they were going to present us with a little more information, dimensions and that sort of thing. And we will revisit that. We looked at the dugout quotes again, requested that we get a second bid that would then be kind of configured as the way the first bid was drawn up for us, so that we can compare like bids. And we also then approved a bridge inspection agreement, and that is on the agenda for tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Scott.
Just
We'll
an
go- yeah,
just an FYI about that, Jessup gym equipment. There is part of that grant money that came from you and I that will be towards exercise equipment outside, either along the bike trail or can be put in the park too. So there may be already that stuff coming. So hopefully if you can let them know at Public Works that, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? That was part of that.
Remind me, because Scott's leaving.
What was the grant we got from you and I, the
The Walmart 3-point.
Walmart 3-point play grant that we got?
Okay.
Yep, and
There was
there's-
about 6,500 or something.
I don't remember for sure, I'll have to look it up, I don't remember exactly what number.
So part of it that we're gonna use that for is I have a printout, we just haven't gotten it ordered yet, of outdoor equipment that goes either along the bike trail, that's like stations, exercise stations that can go along that trail.
Yep.
Or it could be put in the park, it wouldn't matter either way.
And what I remember is they're giving this away, it's just a matter of us spending money if we were gonna accept it to set it up here. Was it for sale or are they
It
giving
was
us?
for
sale.
sale, it was
Yeah.
like $4.
Jessup Gym's for sale. Yeah.
Okay, okay,
So this is already
That's-
included in that, for the full cost of it, so it may be something we don't need to buy something extra.
got it.
Got it? Thanks.
Any other questions then for, okay. We'll move on to the public hearing. First public hearing to amend chapter 55 of the City of Hudson Code of Ordinances, adding the dangerous animal language. Chrissy, do we have any verbal or written comments?
No, I don't have any written, but on that note, on the public hearing notice, that I didn't catch this when it was printed, I have the deadline for written comments at 4 o'clock on the 19th, which obviously is after today. If I get any written comments, I'll pass them along to you as the council, and also have them on the next council meeting when we do the second reading. So I would say that if you're gonna approve the first reading tonight, you're good, and then we can revisit it if there's
See if we
written
do
comments.
get anything. Okay. All
I know I
right.
don't have any written.
Okay. Yes, Jim?
I just said Jim O'Regan, 6115 Eldora Road. I just had one, for the definition of dangerous animal, it does have a clause that says effectively, if someone thinks something might, an animal might be dangerous, it classifies it as dangerous. So, unfortunately with that, it's kind of like state of Iowa has a, you don't have to be publicly intoxicated, you could have an officer perceive that you might be, and it still counts. So I'm a little concerned about that any animal could be, you know.
Can you pull up the language on the screen here?
The first definition's pretty clear. So this is what a dangerous animal is, it's an animal that is attacked or threatened. And the second definition says an animal that could reasonably be considered to do that.
By who?
Correct.
My daughters are trying to rescue 4 kittens that I'd just as soon consider dangerous, if that's gonna allow me to get rid of them.
Right. Number 5.
The definition of dangerous animal means any animal which attacks a person or another animal, or which placed any person in reasonable fear of attack or injury, or which damages or destroys property. So, as a prosecutor, I'd have to prove that the animal placed a person in reasonable fear of attack or injury. If there's no evidence to support that, because the dog didn't lunge, bark, screech, howl, open its mouth, growl, I'm gonna lose proving that up.
Correct, it just says, it says
Lot of dogs open
reasonable
their
fear.
mouths.
What's the definition of reasonable fear?
I don't think there is a definition,
There
I think
isn't a
it's just based
definition of
on,
reasonable fear.
It's
It's a
based on-
fact finder by the jury, I mean, and it'd be a judge in this case, but a judge would make a factual finding as to whether or not that was a reasonable fear. And if I lose, I lose.
Yeah, I don't think you can put too much else into that.
So.
And this is something that the chief had asked too, so that he's got something, not that we have a problem right now or anything like that, but it's just more for, down the road, if we do have a situation, he has something to base on.
Right, yeah, just as long as, the first section is pretty clear, and I think the second section is, or which placed any person in a reasonable fear of attack or injury. That's not according to somebody else, it's if Matt says, I was placed in.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's absolutely right.
Correct, that's absolutely right. So an individual can go, that dog scares me, and report that to the police officer.
Right.
And if
And
that
they can-
person is crazy in their analysis, then I'm not gonna win.
I don't think the definition necessarily says that. I think the definition says, any person, or which placed any person
In reasonable fear of attack.
So if I say it,
Correct, if you say
I
it,
declare it.
Correct.
It doesn't,
absolutely,
I believe
Yep.
that.
you're right. You
What am I
pick
right
it,
about?
you're
By
absolutely
default,
correct.
if I say Matt's kittens scare me, they are dangerous.
Correct, and
And
the
then it would have to
officer
be
then
proven.
has to, it have to be proven, and the
It doesn't
officer,
say that has to be proven.
it's the definition of dangerous animal that's involved in the rest of the portion of the ordinance, which later on it says, a dangerous animal is, animals found at large in violation of this chapter can be seized or impounded. A peace officer may cause any dangerous animal to be impounded, that's where the definition is
Well,
relevant.
this is the definition section. So this is the section that declares, so all the rest of the document references this.
Correct?
So since all the rest of the document says, if Tommy says that Matt's kittens are dangerous and put him in a medium fearful, they by definition are dangerous. And are by definition.
That doesn't mean that they're gonna be charged that way. It's the officer who then uses their discretion to go, clearly Tommy's kittens are not dangerous and haven't done anything. And if the officer goes ahead and chooses to charge it, and I bring the witnesses in and all the witnesses go, that kitten didn't do anything, then I'm gonna lose. So I'm not concerned at all about the way this is written right now. Not at all.
I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying if that part of the definition weren't there, you wouldn't lose anything.
Yeah, you would.
What would
You'd
you
lose the ability of a neighbor whose dog who's been lunged at 2 or 3 times, who calls Chief Banks and says, that pit bull chased after me in my backyard 3 times and opened its mouth on my dog, I wanna have something done about it. That neighbor is scared of that dog, and now I prove it up, and the magistrate either agrees or not. But it prevents somebody from attacking some other's animals, and I've seen bad attacks. So which places another person in fear gives us the opportunity to nip something in the bud if there's a legitimate chance that a dog could cause a problem.
So wouldn't that be reasonable to say that any person that reports this animal as having? The difference is, by your definition, you think that's great. If a citizen says to the police department, hey, this animal did this, and I was in reasonable fear, that's different. Versus, somebody can just walk up and say, your kitten.
Which is true for every single crime right now that's on the books. Anybody can walk into the police department now and say, that dude just stole my car. It could not be true.
The difference is though.
It doesn't matter at this point, this is what the book is, and our attorney has agreed with it. Thank you for your point with that, I agree with
And
that.
It's a public
think-
hearing.
But that's
Right.
fine,
Right,
but you stated your concerns with it, and we've had our attorney look at it, and she approved the wording. So I think at this point, we appreciate your comments, but we're
So
gonna
I'm just
move
saying
on.
that the difference is.
Okay, but we're not gonna make any changes to it right now, that's what the public hearing is for, that you can tell us what your concerns are, and we can take them under advisement.
Right.
So if we wanna go back and revisit it, we appreciate your comments with
So
it.
the difference is in this situation, the example, if somebody walked in and reported to a police officer that someone stole their property, the police chief would investigate it.
That's what they would investigate a
In
dangerous
this,
animal too.
by definition here, the statement that an animal is dangerous declares it.
No, it
is
doesn't.
dangerous.
No,
According to that
doesn't.
definition, it does.
No, it doesn't, because the officer still investigates it and makes a determination as to whether or not that definition is true or not. And then I, as the prosecutor, still exercise my discretion and review the information and go, nope, can't win this, or, yep, this is an issue.
all right,
Okay,
let's move on.
Yep.
Thank you.
all right. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing on that one then. Next is public hearing to amend section 69.14 of the City of Hudson Code of Ordinances, and this is the snow removal section that would begin at the first measurable snowfall or November 1st, whichever comes first. So, any written or oral comments?
No written, and same applies for the other.
Okay, okay. Anybody else have anything? Okay, we'll go ahead and close then the public hearing on that. We'll move into general government. The Hudson City Council maintains the right to waive the first and second readings of the ordinances presented and may pass the third and final reading of the same ordinance within the same council meeting. All right, first one, discussion action to approve the second reading of ordinance 825, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Hudson by adding chapter 69.08, no parking zones, and that's up there at the Twin Oaks, right?
That's Fast Lane and Riders Road
Yeah.
within the
Yeah.
Deutsche Edition.
Okay, the Deutsche Edition, yeah. All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call?
Wyatt,
Aye.
Reister,
Aye.
Buns,
Aye.
Stabell.
Aye.
Okay, B, discussion action to approve the first reading of ordinance 826, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Hudson by amending provisions pertaining to animal protection and control. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, any other further discussion here,
See,
Council?
this is the one that came from Iowa codification, correct?
No, this is the one that we were just talking about.
Yeah, I know, but the wording on this came from Simmering Quarry, Iowa codification.
Yes, yeah, it did, because it's the same that Tripola has, and they use
Correct.
the same company.
Yeah.
All right, roll call?
Wyatt.
Aye.
Stabell.
Aye.
Buns.
Aye.
Reister.
Aye.
Okay, C, discussion action to approve the first reading of ordinance 827, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Hudson by amending section 69.14, snow emergency. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Can you just overview that for us?
Well, that's where what we just held the public hearing on,
Yeah.
about how when the snow,
It eliminates snow emergencies, so
Right.
basically anytime the plows are out, you're required to have a vehicle off of a city street that gets plowed,
or alley,
or, they need to
Yep.
plow. And if not, it sets the fines with that. We have decided and spoken with the police department that the first year or two probably will be a whole lot of door knocking, just to inform people. It just eliminates that extra step of having to issue that snow emergency. Not that we won't still put things out on social media, things like
Right.
that, but it doesn't
This
have
is
to be
what the
declared.
chief brought to public safety
Correct.
last meeting.
Yes.
Yep, and it goes by the first measurable snowfall or November 1st, whichever comes first. That's when
Because that's when it's
Snow
likely to
thing.
stick around more.
Does it say when it ends?
Yeah, it does say in there
Yeah.
specifically.
I can't think.
I'd have to pull it up, hold on.
That's-
Second.
It states it, that's all.
I think it's April 1st or March something.
No, it doesn't say.
Okay.
But you can get
That's
snow
something
in
we can,
April,
Yeah.
Right.
so it's just, you wanna make sure that you're covering
Right.
the entire snow season. I don't know that you wanna put
Right.
a date in it,
You have to
Okay.
open-ended
yeah.
for a reason.
okay.
I thought it did.
All right. Roll call?
All right, Stabell,
Aye.
Wyatt.
Aye.
Reister.
Aye.
Bunce.
Aye. All right. D, discussion action to approve resolution 2556, a resolution accepting the resignation of an employee. And first, we'd like to thank Rick Andor for almost 43 years of service. I'm sure he has put in a lot of hours. Yes, we probably paid him, but many a times he went above and beyond the call. And so he will be retiring. And so his last day then will be this Friday, December 20th. So, do I have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second.
Okay. Any other further discussion?
Thanks so much, Rick, for all of your hard work over
Yeah.
those 43 years.
All right, roll call?
Stabell,
Aye.
Reister.
Aye.
Bunce.
Aye.
Wyatt.
Aye.
Okay, E, discussion action to approve resolution 2557, a resolution for approval of standard professional service agreement for 2020 bridge inspection services.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Okay, roll call?
Wyatt.
Aye.
Stabell.
Aye.
Bunce.
Aye.
Reister.
Okay. F, discussion action to approve resolution 2558, a resolution approving the transfer of funds, and this is just our usual monthly
You are correct.
transfer.
Moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call?
Reister.
Aye.
Wyatt.
Aye.
Stabell.
Aye.
Bunce.
Aye. Okay, there's 11 informational items in the packet. Reminder items, regularly scheduled meetings held at council chambers except for electric board and library board. Public Works Committee meeting, January 15th, 2020 at 7 a.m. Mayor's Task Force Committee meeting, January 21st, 2020 at 5 p.m. Public Safety Committee meeting, January 23rd, 2020 at 4 p.m. Personnel Admin Finance Committee meeting, January 27th, 2020 at 4:45 p.m. Next council meetings will be Monday, January 13th, 2020, and January 27th, 2020, both at 6 p.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, meeting is adjourned.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Sayonara.